Nothing is technically wrong in this moment. There's no immediate threat, no urgent message waiting, no crisis unfolding. And yet, your body doesn't seem to know that. Your shoulders feel slightly raised. Your breathing feels shallow, without you deciding it should be. Your jaw might be tight, even while you're resting. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible. But it's there. A sense of being on standby. As if something is about to happen, even though nothing is. This isn't panic. It isn't fear. It's something quieter. Something that hums in the background of daily life. And most of the time, it goes unnoticed. Not because it isn't real, but because it's become familiar. For many women, this state feels so normal that it stops feeling like stress at all. It just feels like life, like responsibility, like being an adult who keeps things together. You may still function. You may still show up. You may still care for others, meet expectations, handle tasks, and appear calm on the outside. And because of that, it can be easy to assume this tension is simply part of who you are. That this low-level tightness is a personality trait, or a personal flaw, or a sign that you're not doing enough to relax. But this experience is far more common than it's talked about, especially among women who have spent years needing to be alert, capable, and emotionally aware of everything around them. When the body learns that safety depends on staying ready, it doesn't suddenly switch off when life becomes quieter. It stays prepared. Not because something is wrong, but because something once required it. This pattern isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't collapse you. It simply keeps you braced. And when everyone around you is also tired, busy, and holding it together, it can feel like this is just how things are supposed to feel. There is no failure here, no weakness, no personal shortcoming. Just a system doing exactly what it learned to do, in an environment that asked a lot of it for a very long time. The nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition. It learns through patterns, not explanations. When stress shows up repeatedly, even in small, manageable doses, the body begins to associate everyday life with vigilance. It doesn't matter if those moments were dramatic or quiet. It doesn't matter if they came from emotional pressure, constant responsibility, or the need to stay composed. What matters is how often the body had to stay alert. Over time, this creates a background setting, a baseline. Muscles hold a little tension by default. Breathing stays slightly shallow. Attention scans for what might need managing next. This happens slowly, quietly, without a clear starting point. And because the stress isn't acute, it doesn't register as something that needs resolving. The nervous system isn't trying to protect you from danger anymore. It's trying to prevent disruption. It's staying ready so nothing falls apart. This is why rest can feel restless. Why stillness can feel uncomfortable. Why even peaceful moments sometimes come with an edge. The body learned that being prepared was safer than being relaxed. Not because relaxation was dangerous, but because it wasn't practiced. The pattern didn't form overnight, and it doesn't require something dramatic to maintain it. It continues simply because it has become familiar. When this pattern goes unnamed, it often turns inward. It starts to feel personal. Like something about you is inherently tense. Like calm is something other people access more easily. Like your nervous system is somehow defective or overly sensitive. But this isn't an issue of identity. It's an issue of learning. The body doesn't label experiences as good or bad. It labels them as frequent or infrequent, necessary or unnecessary. And if staying alert once helped you cope, adapt, or survive, the body remembers that, not as a memory, but as a setting. This is where the shift begins. From something is wrong with me to something was learned. From self-blame to self-recognition. You're not failing to relax. Your body isn't resisting peace. It simply hasn't been shown, consistently, that it no longer needs to hold this posture. When stress becomes familiar, calm can feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar doesn't feel safe to the nervous system. That doesn't mean calm is wrong. It means it's new. This reframing changes the tone of the entire experience. Not by fixing anything, but by removing the idea that you're broken. What you're feeling isn't a flaw in your character. It's a trace of your history. Here's something rarely said out loud. For many women, calm doesn't immediately feel calming. It feels empty, or exposed, or vaguely uncomfortable. When the nervous system has been operating in a state of readiness, quiet can feel like something is missing. The familiar hum disappears. The internal structure softens. And without that tension, the body doesn't quite know where to land. This is why moments of rest can come with unease. Why slowing down can feel emotionally loud. Why the mind may start searching for something to worry about when there's nothing demanding attention. This isn't self-sabotage, it's orientation. The nervous system is asking, what do I do now? For a long time, stress provided direction. It told the body how to organize itself. When that signal fades, there's a temporary sense of disorientation. This is often misinterpreted as laziness, restlessness, or lack of discipline. But it's none of those. It's simply the absence of a familiar pattern. Calm isn't rejected because it's bad. It's questioned because it's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar sensations take time to register as safe, especially in a system that learned safety through vigilance rather than ease. There is something quietly relieving about understanding this. Not because it changes the experience immediately, but because it removes the pressure to be different. When stress is seen as a learned state, rather than a personal failure, the internal struggle softens. There's less effort to override it, less urgency to fix it, less judgment layered on top of the sensation itself. Understanding creates space, and space allows the nervous system to notice without defending. Nothing needs to be forced here. Nothing needs to be solved. The body already knows how to adapt. It learns stress through repetition, and it can learn something else through exposure and time, not through willpower, not through pushing, but through recognition. Simply realizing that this pattern exists, and that it wasn't chosen, changes the relationship with it. The tension doesn't disappear on command, but it stops feeling like an enemy. It becomes information, a signal of what was once necessary. And when the system no longer feels judged or rushed, it doesn't have to hold as tightly. Relief doesn't always arrive as relaxation. Sometimes it arrives as understanding. There's one more layer to this pattern that often goes unnoticed. When the body has spent years operating under quiet pressure, it doesn't just affect how stress feels. It affects how energy feels, how motivation feels, how rest is interpreted. Many women begin to question themselves when exhaustion shows up without a clear reason, when starting feels heavy, when recovery takes longer than expected. It's easy to assume something is wrong, that effort is missing, that discipline has faded. But what if that interpretation is off? What if what's being labeled as laziness is actually the nervous system's response to long-term strain? What if the body isn't resisting life, but recovering from carrying it for too long without pause? This question doesn't need an answer right now. It just needs to be held. Because understanding what chronic stress does beneath the surface changes how everything else is seen. And that understanding continues in the next conversation.